Any other creative options that only involve the 9 organizations or possibly other DV organizations? Is it allowed for us to say we want 9 partner organizations but now have only 4 and include our letters of commitment from those 4, but state in the application that we will add 5 more in the first year after an assessment? Yes, NTIA does allow some flexibility in the grant application, particularly when it comes to partnerships, as long as your proposal outlines a clear plan for how you will add partners or adjust your strategy over time. You can absolutely state your intention to add more partners in the first year and still move forward with the 4 DV organizations that have provided letters of commitment. Here are creative options that involve just the 9 DV organizations or possibly other DV organizations with the flexibility to expand later. 1. Phased partnership approach. Option, commit to the 4 organizations now, expand to 5 more later. Rationale, NTIA allows grantees to adjust their partnerships, project scope and objectives after the grant is awarded as long as these changes align with the program's goals. In your proposal, you can clearly state that while 4 DV organizations have committed to incubator sites now, you plan to recruit 5 additional DV organizations during the first year, after conducting an assessment of regional needs. Execution. 1. Submit the 4 letters of commitment from the committed organizations in your application to meet NTIA's requirement for partnership documentation. 2. State in the narrative that an assessment of other DV organizations will be conducted during the first year to identify 5 additional sites based on factors like geographic gaps, digital literacy needs, and population density. 3. Highlight your recruitment strategy for the 5 additional partners, including outreach methods like leveraging DV networks, coalitions, or existing partnerships, and the criteria you will use to evaluate their readiness and capacity to host incubator sites. Advantages. This phased approach will demonstrate that you have both an immediate plan and long-term scalability, which aligns with NTIA's focus on sustainability and broad impact. You'll be able to evaluate the success of the incubator sites in the 4 initial regions before committing resources to the additional 5 sites, which could mitigate risk and improve overall project outcomes. Multi-site regional hub-and-spoke model. Option, use the 4 committed DV organizations as regional hubs and engage the other 5 as outreach spokes. If some DV organizations aren't prepared to host full incubator sites, you could still engage them by using a hub-and-spoke model. In this model, the 4 committed organizations act as regional hubs that offer the full incubator experience, while the 5 other organizations act as spokes, engaging in outreach, referring clients to the incubators, and offering mobile or virtual services. Execution. The 4 organizations with incubator sites become central training and service hubs that provide digital literacy, broadband access, and telehealth. The 5 other DV organizations participate as outreach and referral partners, helping connect clients in more remote or underserved areas to the hub services. These outreach partners could provide virtual programs, distribute devices, or help arrange transportation to the hub sites. Advantages. This approach maximizes involvement of all 9 organizations without needing full infrastructure at each site immediately. It keeps your proposal flexible, showing NTIA that you have a strategy for engaging all partners but are distributing resources wisely across regions. Create satellite incubator sites within the existing 4 organizations' networks. Option, develop smaller satellite incubators under the 4 main organizations. The 4 committed organizations could also partner with smaller DV organizations or shelters within their region to act as satellite incubator sites. These satellites wouldn't offer the full range of incubator services, but could provide entry-level digital literacy training or access points for virtual resources. Execution. Within the proposal, designate the 4 organizations as primary incubators and then outline a plan to develop smaller satellite incubator sites within their regions, possibly hosted by the 5 remaining DV organizations or other smaller DV shelters that serve specific communities. These satellites could receive support from the hub, such as equipment, staff training, or mobile services, with the potential to grow into full incubator sites over time. Advantages. This allows for incremental growth while utilizing the existing infrastructure of the 4 committed DV organizations. It keeps all 9 DV organizations involved while spreading the impact across more regions. Partnership development during year 1, using advisory roles or non-binding locks. Option, advisory roles for non-committed organizations with the aim to transition them to full partnerships. If the 5 non-committed organizations are hesitant about full participation, you can invite them to participate in advisory roles during the first year. They could contribute to the design and evaluation of the incubators, giving them time to assess whether they want to formally join as full partners later. Execution state in your proposal that the 4 committed organizations will lead incubator implementation, but that the other 5 organizations will serve on an advisory board. This gives them a say in the project and the opportunity to explore joining later without an upfront commitment. Provide non-binding letters of intent rather than formal letters of commitment from these 5 organizations, expressing their interest in possibly hosting sites later based on a mutual assessment during the first year. Advantages. This approach buys you time while still showing NTIA that the entire network of 9 organizations is involved in the project. It reduces the risk for the 5 hesitant organizations while keeping them engaged and informed, making it easier to transition them to full incubators later. NTIA's view on stating future plans for partners is likely to accept a phased or flexible partnership plan, as long as it's well documented and includes a clear rationale for why some partnerships will be formalized later, like needing to conduct a regional assessment or allowing for phased implementation. A timeline for when and how additional partners will be recruited, along with the criteria used to evaluate new partners. Immediate commitments from the organizations that are ready now, such as the 4 with letters of commitment, to show that the project can move forward without delay. By submitting this approach, you demonstrate responsiveness to NTIA's focus on flexibility and collaboration, as well as pragmatism in managing resources and scaling the project over time. Recommendation for proposal. 1. Submit letters of commitment for the 4 committed organizations to meet the NTIA requirement. 2. In the project narrative, clearly outline your plan to recruit 5 additional partners in the first year with a specific process for evaluation and outreach. 3, if possible, include non-binding letters of interest or intent from the 5 remaining organizations to show NTIA that they are interested in becoming full partners, but need more time to assess feasibility. This strategy demonstrates both immediate action and a long-term vision, which NTIA would likely view favorably. A fitting name for this strategy could be Phased Partnership and Incubator Expansion Plan. This name clearly conveys the idea of a staged, scalable approach to building partnerships and expanding incubator sites over time, while also aligning with the goals of the NTIA's Digital Equity Competitive Grant Program. Here are a few more options depending on the tone and focus you want to emphasize. 1. Regional Incubator Growth Strategy, which focuses on the geographic expansion aspect with an emphasis on growing the incubators over time. 2. Strategic Partnership Development and Expansion Plan, which highlights the careful and strategic approach to developing partnerships while expanding service coverage. 3. Digital Equity Incubator Network Phase 1 and beyond, which communicates that this is just the first phase of a broader network with more to come in future stages. 4. Collaborative Growth and Expansion Plan, which emphasizes the collaborative nature of the effort, key to the project's appeal. 5. Incubator Launch and Partnership Expansion Blueprint, which brings attention to the launch of the incubators with the foundational commitment of partners while also looking ahead to scaling up. The Phased Partnership and Incubator Expansion Plan strikes a balance between the immediate action you're taking and the clear, structured vision for future growth. It signals both action and flexibility to NTIA while highlighting the thoughtful process behind adding new partners over time. Question: would NTIA favor this approach versus an all-subcontractor model? Yes, NTIA is more likely to favor your phased partnership and incubator expansion plan over an all-subcontractor model for several key reasons, based on NTIA's priorities and the structure of the Digital Equity Competitive Grant Program. Why NTIA would likely favor the phased partnership model? First, emphasis on collaboration and partnerships. NTIA strongly encourages collaboration among multiple organizations, especially those that have direct ties to the covered populations. A partnership model demonstrates collective action and a shared commitment to addressing digital equity, which aligns with the broader goals of the program. Even if some partners are added later, starting with 4 committed organizations shows you're leveraging existing relationships and expertise from diverse regional stakeholders, which makes for a stronger proposal than a centralized subcontractor model. Second, flexibility and scalability. The phased partnership plan highlights your flexibility and ability to scale the project over time. NTIA appreciates projects that can grow and adapt to better serve underserved communities. Your plan to expand the partnership by recruiting additional DV organizations within the first year demonstrates forward thinking and responsiveness to evolving regional needs. NTIA values sustainability and long-term impact. By planning to onboard additional organizations, you're showing a long-term commitment to building capacity and ensuring that digital equity work continues beyond the grant period. Third, shared responsibility and local impact. Partnering with local organizations ensures that the incubators will be tailored to the specific needs of the communities they serve. NTIA favors models where local expertise is brought to the forefront, rather than a centralized model where the grantee controls all aspects. By involving more organizations over time, you distribute the workload, responsibility, and community outreach, making the project more resilient. NTIA might view this as reducing the risk of failure since multiple organizations are engaged and invested in the success of the incubators. Fourth, innovation and engagement. The phased approach shows innovative thinking in terms of both partnerships and implementation. Rather than attempting to establish everything at once, you're focusing on getting the foundational pieces in place, then expanding after assessing needs and identifying the best opportunities for additional partnerships. NTIA values projects that demonstrate a strong community engagement strategy, and your phased approach allows for adaptive engagement with the community as you onboard new partners. Why the subcontractor model would be less favorable. First, less collaboration. A purely subcontractor model would likely be seen as less collaborative. In a subcontractor model, the 9 DV organizations would be implementing TCFV's vision rather than jointly shaping and leading the project. NTIA typically prefers collaboration, where each partner has a role in decision-making and co-design of the project, which a partnership model better supports. Second, perceived lack of local input. In an all-subcontractor model, there may be a perception that the local DV organizations are only executing predetermined tasks, which could limit their ability to tailor services to local community needs. NTIA places a strong emphasis on local, community-driven solutions, which might be harder to demonstrate in a subcontractor model. Third, higher administrative burden for TCFV. With the subcontractor model, TCFV would bear the full administrative burden of managing the entire project, including compliance, financial management, and reporting. While this might offer more centralized control, it could also be seen as a higher risk for administrative challenges or inefficiencies. NTIA might view the subcontractor model as too centralized, lacking the local nuance and flexibility that partnerships offer. Fourth, reduced long-term sustainability. NTIA looks for projects that will be sustainable beyond the grant period, and partnerships are generally seen as fostering long-term, collaborative relationships that could continue even after the grant ends. An all-subcontractor model might raise concerns about whether these relationships will be sustained or if the incubators will struggle to continue once the subcontract ends. In summary, NTIA is likely to favor the phased partnership and incubator expansion plan because it balances immediate action with a clear plan for future growth, demonstrates collaborative leadership and leverages local expertise, aligns with NTIA's goals of sustainability, scalability, and community engagement, shows flexibility, which is essential for a project designed to meet evolving digital equity needs. The phased approach also provides NTIA with reassurance that you have a solid foundation with the initial 4 committed organizations, while presenting a thoughtful strategy to bring in additional partners as the project matures, making it a more adaptable and comprehensive solution. Question: how do we present this phased plan? Presenting the phased partnership and incubator expansion plan effectively in your proposal is critical to showcasing the thoughtfulness, scalability, and flexibility of your approach. Here's a suggested structure for how to integrate this plan into your grant application to ensure it aligns with NTIA's goals and stands out as a well-organized strategic approach. 1. Executive summary. This section is typically the first thing reviewers will see, so it's important to highlight the phased nature of the plan while emphasizing the immediate commitment and long-term strategy. Introductory paragraph. Briefly, introduce the overall goal of your proposal, the creation of digital equity incubators in partnership with DV organizations to address digital inclusion for survivors. Mention that the plan is structured to scale over time, starting with 4 committed partners and expanding to 9 DV organizations through a phased approach during the first year. Key points to include. We will begin with 4 committed DV organizations hosting incubator sites with letters of commitment included in this application. These organizations will serve as the initial regional hubs for digital literacy, workforce development, and broadband access. Over the first year, we will conduct a regional assessment and strategic outreach to recruit an additional 5 DV organizations to serve as incubator sites, expanding the network and impact. This phased approach ensures immediate action with a strong foundation while allowing for thoughtful growth based on identified regional needs and resource availability. 2. Detailed project narrative. This section allows you to dive deeper into your phased approach, explaining the rationale behind it and how it will be executed over time. Introduction. Explain why the phased approach is beneficial. For example, given the variation in regional needs, organizational readiness, and infrastructure, we have opted for a phased approach that will ensure rapid deployment of services while allowing for tailored growth based on a thorough assessment. Reiterate that 4 organizations are ready now and 5 more will be added in year 1 based on an evaluation of community needs. Phased plan breakdown. Phase 1, immediate implementation. Year 1, months 1 to 6. Mention the letters of commitment. Attach the LOCs from the 4 committed DV organizations, emphasizing their roles as regional hubs and their immediate readiness to host incubators. Highlight the key services to be provided at these locations, such as digital literacy workshops, telehealth access, job training, and outline the initial target populations. For example, survivors, low-income individuals, and rural populations. Describe any key milestones for Phase 1, such as the setup of infrastructure, staff training, initial client intake, and service delivery. Phase 2, expansion and recruitment, Year 1, months 6 to 12. State the intent to recruit additional partners. Explain that during the first 6 months of the grant period, TCFV will conduct an assessment of regional needs and outreach efforts to identify 5 additional DV organizations that will join as incubator sites. We will engage in targeted outreach to DV organizations in underserved regions, particularly those serving rural and minority communities, to ensure the broadest possible impact across the state. Non-binding letters of intent. Mention that you have non-binding letters of intent from some of the 5 remaining DV organizations expressing their interest in joining the project. These letters indicate a strong potential commitment once the initial assessment and alignment with their organizational readiness is completed. These LOIs reflect the organization's interest in eventually hosting incubator sites or acting as regional satellite locations for digital inclusion services. Criteria for selection and engagement. Outline the criteria you will use to evaluate and onboard additional partners, such as their capacity to implement digital inclusion services, geographic need, and their alignment with the project goals. Mention that Phase 2 will involve capacity building for potential new partners, including providing technical assistance, training, and resources necessary for them to become full incubator sites. Detail any milestones for Phase 2, such as partner onboarding, site preparation, and the gradual rollout of services at new locations. Project timeline. Create a visual timeline like a Gantt chart or phased timeline graphic to clearly illustrate how you will implement the incubators over time, with clear distinctions between Phase 1 and Phase 2 activities. Phase 1. Timeline, months 1 to 6, site setup and service launch for the 4 committed partners. Key milestones include equipment setup, initial workshops, and first client intakes. Phase 2 timeline, months 6 to 12, outreach and partner recruitment. Evaluation of new partners based on readiness and regional need. Onboarding of 5 additional organizations and start of service delivery at new incubator sites. This timeline demonstrates that you have a clear, actionable plan with immediate and long-term goals. Budget and consolidated budget form. In your budget and consolidated budget form, ensure that the phased approach is reflected in your budget breakdown. Immediate Year 1 costs. Phase 1. Allocate resources to launch incubators at the 4 committed organizations, including equipment, staffing, and initial program delivery. Year 1 expansion costs. Phase 2. Include projected costs for recruiting and onboarding additional partners. This could include technical assistance, training, site setup, and ongoing support for the 5 new incubator sites. Clearly showing how funds will be used for the phased rollout helps NTIA understand the financial feasibility and scalability of your project. Sustainability and long-term impact section. This section is where you should emphasize the long-term benefits of your phased approach. Sustainability of Phase 1, incubators. Detail how the incubators launched in the first phase will continue to operate and serve the community beyond Year 1 with local resources and trained staff to sustain the program. Scalability of the phased approach. Discuss how adding 5 additional partners in the first year not only expands the geographic reach but also lays the groundwork for further expansion in subsequent years. Mention how the non-binding letters of intent reflect the organization's long-term interest in becoming incubator hosts and how the partnership structure will enable them to sustain operations after the grant ends. Flexibility. NTIA values flexibility in digital equity programs. Highlight that your phased approach allows for adaptation based on community needs and ensures that you can onboard new partners without overwhelming resources or infrastructure. Letters of commitment and intent appendices. Include letters of commitment from the 4 committed DV organizations. Include non-binding letters of intent from the 5 other DV organizations that have expressed interest. Make it clear that while these organizations are not yet formal partners, they are enthusiastic about potentially joining after the Year 1 assessment. Monitoring and evaluation plan. In your evaluation section, include metrics for both Phase 1 and Phase 2, Phase 1 evaluation. Measure success in launching the incubators at the 4 committed sites, focusing on digital literacy outcomes, broadband adoption rates, and workforce training impacts. Phase 2. Evaluation. Include metrics for partner recruitment and onboarding success. This could include how quickly you onboard the new sites, how effectively you provide capacity building, and how well the incubators are integrated into the DV organization's services. Highlight that the success of Phase 1 will inform the strategies you use for Phase 2, ensuring that you adapt and refine based on early lessons learned. Conclusion. Reiterate the benefits of your phased approach. Immediate impact through the 4 incubator sites launching in Year 1. Thoughtful expansion to 5 additional sites through careful recruitment and assessment during the first year. The flexibility to adapt based on the needs of DV organizations and the communities they serve, ensuring a sustainable and scalable model that NTIA will find compelling. By presenting the phased partnership and incubator expansion plan with this structure, you can clearly demonstrate to NTIA that you have a strong, actionable strategy that balances immediate results with long-term growth while fostering collaboration, community engagement, and flexibility.